Hello, hello, and welcome to the Inner Parent Podcast. We are lounging in the corner seat of my basement. Child free, that never happened, so we are going to get into it. I just had the most razzle dazzly fun first guest episode interview with someone who will not yet be named, but almost do 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 do. And this episode is going to air right before that episode. Why is that? Because there are pillars that hold up this whole practice of reparenting inner parent. And so the flow of this podcast for the foreseeable future is going to be talking about one of the pillars, having a guest that reflects that pillar, and then the next pillar, and then a guest, a pillar, and a guest, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so this week we're going to talk about the pillar of finances or economics, right? Either of those words. I mean, they can and can't be interchanged. Pick your own adventure. So when we think about our inner parent and how our perception of what it means to be an adult or like how we're supposed to act, what's proper, right? All of the things is like how we experience and are expected to function that, our inner parent becomes that voice, right? So often, at least in the West, in the United States in particular, is my experience, finances and this idea of economic mobility or stability or opportunity, all of that gets so deeply ground into your inner parent. And so often it's the main, if not the only true barometer of success that we're told. So I wanted to start off the podcast with talking about that experience of financial expectation, of access or inaccess, equitability, inequitability, or inequity, equity, just adding extra syllables here. And so, how does your inner parent, this is, a prompt or something that we can sit with, how were you introduced to the idea of money or resources or finances? What did you see your caregivers and the adults around you experience with money? How were they talking about it? Did that make sense or match up what their physical practices were doing? Was it mentioned at all? Did you feel like, or do you still feel like you were even equipped to adult and function through the lens of money and resources? I personally know that I was not. Um, but asking these types of questions helps us, one, get sort of a baseline of, again, what expectations or potentially unhelpful beliefs was I given about finances and money? And then doing that work, the reflective work of, and so what do I actually believe about money? Is this a supportive belief? Is this one that I feel like I've outgrown? Does it feel like I just need a new one? Like just because this is not working for me, right? All of those questions, and whatever comes up with them are totally valid. And also, can we start to practice making decisions with money and resources that feel better to us? So that might be, you know what? I was always told to buy the store brand ginormous bag of cereal, but to be honest, I don't like it. Maybe you don't like cereal, maybe you don't like that brand, maybe you're like, I don't need this big bag because I never go through it all before it starts to taste stale. What would it feel like to get a store brand? Or maybe even at like Dollar Tree, they have really small boxes of cereal, and you're like, I just want like a two-serving cereal box size box, and that lasts you 6 months because you eat cereal performatively, but you don't really want to, right? There's these really small, in terms of the practices and making the decision and trying something new, right? There's these small shifts that when we're doing inner parent work that we can start with, and that gets to be enough, right? And there's also these larger, more pressing decisions like, for I was told to go to college. I'm the first person to go and graduate from college in my family. I was told to go to college and everything will be perfect after that. Just go to college, you'll get a good paying job, and then like you'll save our whole family. Now I'm a six-figure student loan debt and not saving our family that way. Um, right, because I was told that all I had to do was go to school and graduate. There was no financial literacy, no conversation afterwards, like none of that. Or like what fields would you study that might have that type of outcome associated with it, like be an anesthesiologist. Or like there was nothing else. It was just the simple practice, an act of going to school and graduating will absolutely change everything. Um, so when I'm reparenting my own inner parent, it looks like currently having a lot of debt, um, and making these debt payment plans to pay them off, and asking questions like, does the so often needed convenience of getting prepared food, right? Because I'm out with kids, appointments, whatever, does that $5 extra of, the convenience or accessibility part feel better than putting five more dollars towards debt? Usually the answer is yes, because I'm just at the point of needing to eat because I'm like breastfeeding a 4 month old and ADHD and I've already forgotten to eat and now I need to and it's almost too late and I'm running class. Like, so for the current mode that I'm in right now, I'm going to choose the convenience. And also, I'm still practicing asking myself because I believe that yes, there will be a time where I have more capacity, I have more support, there's just more spaciousness, and that choice will be actually, I do want to put more money towards my debt payment plan. I don't need the extra sort of $5 fix of the convenience. And that's reparenting myself in two ways. One is, excuse me, because I am asking myself something and letting myself make a decision. Wasn't something that was like modeled. Definitely as a child wasn't allowed to ask questions or make my own decisions. Um, and also it's changing a cycle of dysfunction that I learned from my family of origin and like continued myself for much of my life of misbelieving that if you make a decision once, that's the decision you have to stick with forever. So if I decide that I will not put money towards debt, then that means that I'll never be able to, and it'll just like always be there. And that creates a lot of catastrophizing and a lot of doom and gloom, both within the family of origin and like my own experience. So I share all this to encourage you to try on and play with the practice of checking in with yourself, of giving yourself opportunities to make decisions, and that it can be something as low hanging fruit as, do I want the name brand cereal, the store brand cereal, or do I not even fucking want the cereal? Right? Because much of how we experienced economics, financial stability, the topic of finances or money or resources in general, there could have been caregivers are saying one thing and doing that, saying one thing and doing something else, saying nothing and not showing a shit, right? There could be a lot of different category nuances there. And so asking yourself a certain choice or decision and having that be the practice, let's say for the next month. Every time I'm at the grocery store, I'm going to ask myself about the fucking cereal, right? At the end of the day, it ends up not being about the cereal. It's about the practice of checking in with yourself, allowing yourself to make a decision, allowing that decision to stay or to change. That builds the muscle. That's the practice of reparenting, right? Because I heard someone recently say, as parents, we're preparing our children to live life without us. And if we, and like that, that's the commitment and responsibility we're saying is like, I am equipping you to navigate the world when one day I'm not there to navigate it for you or with you. So if we can hold that as an option of what parenting is, can our reparenting practice be equipping us to be not in the life that we told we were supposed to be in or how the world is going to be, but can we equip and navigate the actual reality we're in right now? Can we relearn that we have some agency here, that it gets to be on our terms, and how can we have the chaos of our choosing through the fucking cereal aisle. So I say all that to say that as we're going through each of these pillars, again, there will be this, here's the pillar topic, here's Lori's thoughts, some examples, storytelling, right? Some prompts, practices. And then, as you'll hear in the next episode when I have a guest, it's not a literal, like, tell us about your field and what this is. No, because I so truly believe that when we have opportunities to see each other in like natural surroundings, right? Um, we see how the practice of reparenting yourself is really, how can you choose yourself in the moment, and that is something that can happen through play. It's something that can happen through being in community with each other, and that is not something that we're not trading one form of perfectionist or like I have to be the perfect adult towards a different type of perfectionism. Like, I'm going to be the best reparenting person ever. I'm going to make no wrongs. I'm always going to do the best thing, right? No, because that's two sides of the same coin. And so I I think you'll be delighted next week with the next episode rather. Um and I will do a little teaser here if you want to um check out the pillars, right? I will be linking in the show notes the application. It's not really application, the interest form. That's the word. The guest interest form, or if you want to be on the podcast. And on there, there will have the various pillar choices of which one like you identify with, or like is your sort of field if you are in a certain career or have a certain business. If or if there's one that you've spent a lot of time dedicating, your reparenting experience and caring for yourself through that lens. And so you can also look that way. Um, I did consider it's like, oh, I could just have one episode that goes through like all of the pillars. And I might decide to do that as sort of like an intermission point at some point. But I also, it felt like people would then get too cerebral about it. So for right now, I'm just gonna drip, 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 drop out the pillars on the podcast and have guests. And the amount of heartburn that I feel suddenly bubbling up lets me know that since I just had an hour interview and now this has been, what, 10-ish minutes, your girl's got to go eat and the coffee is a little too acidic. So I'm going to leave you with that. Take what you want with that. We are here. We're rambling together. Love the definition of ramble, which I found out a few years ago, which is to start walking without an idea of your destination. And that really helped me change, reparent my relationship with not just my voice, but I didn't know at the time. Well, I wasn't diagnosed yet at the time with ADHD, but then I'm like, oh yeah, because I so judged myself because of how my family of origin judged the way that my brain worked, and start talking and not knowing where we're going and like just get to the point. And I was like, I don't know the point. That's the whole point. We're on a quest together. Right. And so that to say that now when Lori Robin rambles, right, and we're rambling together on these little episodes together, it makes me really happy because those of you who are okay with it and get it, cool, come along on the quest. If it's not your thing, bye. Like, all that gets to be okay. So, as always, have a razzle dazzle day. And if that's unaccessible, you can put an F on front and have a frazzle dazzle day. See ya. Let's get some outro music. Yes, I want to end the recording. It's going to the cloud. Bye, everybody.